let's hand a pair of headphones over to my right-hand side. Because ringing the bell here at Emirates Old Trafford today was a legendary figure from the world of rugby union, a former England captain. He led his side to an unexpected Grand Slam win, it says here, in 1980, and also captained the British Lions Tour in South Africa. After retiring, he's been chairman of the Rugby Football Union, chairman of World Rugby, and of course became a household name as the second longest serving captain on A Question of Sport, taking on people like Willie Carson, Emlyn Hughes and Ian Botham, and of course it is Bill Beaumont. Good afternoon to you, Bill. It's lovely to see you.
Delighted to be here, Jonathan.
Excellent.
Absolutely looking
and
forward.
Look at this. Look at the view.
This is a typical Manchester day. A typical day in Manchester in July.
You see, you can say that as a local.
Indeed. But I might live 50 miles north, but on the Fylde coast.
You're 50 miles north.
50 miles north on the Fylde coast. But sort of Manchester is, I think Old Trafford is a special place. I think so. I've always been brought up with cricket. My father's side of the family, they were rugby players.
Right.
On my mother's side, they were all cricketers. So, and my uncle, he was the last amateur captain of Lancashire in 1962.
Wow. And what was his name?
Joe Blackledge.
Right.
And he served here on the committee for many, many years. And so I've had a great love of cricket.
Yes.
Real love of cricket.
So how, 62, so you would have been very young, I guess.
10.
Okay.
10 at the time.
So how would that whole amateur status have worked then? I mean, he must have been quite posh, was he? Was he a wealthy fellow?
He had a few bob at Repton School.
Okay.
And that he played sort of second-team cricket, I think, in his teens, early 20s, and then realised he probably wasn't going to make it as a full-time player for the county. Played league cricket all his life.
Yes.
And then got a phone call and said, would you like to come and captain the county?
Isn't that extraordinary? I mean, doesn't it seem bizarre looking back on those sorts of days?
Well, it seems strange because he used to tell me that he'd have to go and have lunch with the committee every home game. And you almost had separate changing rooms, separate entrances.
Yes, of course.
For the amateurs and the professional players. And I think in his pomp, if he'd sort of been appointed captain at a younger age, I think he would have made it more of a success. But unfortunately, it was only one season.
And did it sort of seem normal? Again, you're only 10, but that whole strange segregation of the different gates and the amateur status and the lunch with the committee, I mean, that was just the way it was?
I think that's the way. I just didn't... I was oblivious to it, really.
Yes.
10 years old, I remember coming to see him play a couple of times. He got laid out, sort of hit on the head. There were no helmets in those days. But a Hampshire fast bowler called Butch White.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
very well known Hampshire bowler,
Yeah, quick bowler who laid him out.
Really?
Yeah, okay.
And it was all right.
A half term from school, I came to watch him play.
Right, and was that the time he was laid out?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I remember coming to the match, yes.
You remember which end it was? Because, of course, there were different ends then, weren't there?
Yeah, it's all changed. It's all changed now, sort of. But it's sort of good atmosphere here, I think. Sort of. One thing about the north and northwest, we love sport.
Yes.
We love live sport, and it really is a hotbed of sport, really, I think, in this area. We are extremely lucky.
Yes. Well, you can see the football club is down the road. I mean, this is really, absolutely. So what about your cricket, Bill? If you've got a very famous uncle as captain of Lancashire, did that sort of feed through? Did you?
Not really.
Oh.
No, not really. I was more of a boring sort of opening bat. I played league cricket for Chorley in the Northern League, where there'd be professionals. But really, when I sort of left school, and then I sort of rugby became my sport.
Yes.
And also met my wife Hilary, and said she'd probably put up with 80 minutes on a Saturday afternoon watching me play rugby, but then to spend all day sort of watching me play cricket on a Saturday was probably not as good.
What about Chorley? What was the standard of that?
Oh, pretty good. You'd have professional players who played there, and no, it was hard league cricket.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Really honest people.
Yeah. And just to sit, I mean, what's happened here is quite remarkable, isn't it? I mean, you talk about being a hotbed of sport and so on, but this place is transformed. I mean, your dear old uncle, I mean, he wouldn't recognise any of it now, I don't think.
No, that's right. They did serve on the committee for many, many years, but I just think how they've changed the whole ground round here, that sort of, you're looking here, what a fantastic position to commentate on cricket. You're right behind the bowler's arms, you can see everything here. But in the old days, the square ran a different way.
Yes, indeed.
You wouldn't see it at all.
No. So you rang the bell this morning.
I did. What a great honour. What a great honour that was.
And when did they ask you to do that? Weeks ago?
About half an hour before I arrived. So I was told to get here at 10 o'clock. I arrived around 10 o'clock. Said, we're glad you arrived. Would you like to come and ring the bell? And a great honour. I thought of my uncle, actually, when I was doing it.
That's really nice.
I did. I thought of him.
He'll be really proud of that.
He'd be really proud of that, yeah. So it's one of the great things to do. Before an Ashes Test match, to ring the bell. And the applause of the crowd, I thought it was something special. I will live with.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to mention, I'm going to mention Ian Botham first, because I think he's over there, isn't he? You've been sitting with him. So I've got to mention the quick question of sport, which is where so many of us remember you from as well. But Beefy's here today, is he?
Beefy's here today.
How is he?
He's on good form. He's on good fettle. We've been... had a couple of glasses together, just purely for medicinal reasons.
Indeed.
Yes. But no, he looks well, Beefy. He looks on good form. It's good to see him again.
Yeah, you were. Well, I'm assuming you were quite close. You seem quite similar characters, I'd have thought, for that question.
Very close.
Of sport
I think our wives, Kath and Hilary, got on very well. He had 3 kids. We had 3 kids, and it was a bit sort of when we sort of. Had Question of Sport. It was just down the road here on sort of Oxford Road here in the BBC.
Oh, was it?
In Manchester. And all the kids would get on well together. They went to school. Ian's kids went to Rossall School. My kids went to Arnold School in Blackpool. And there was a sort of rivalry between the kids, which school was better than the others. So, it's good to catch up with him.
Yeah.
Fond memories for the Question of Sport.
Yeah, I've been doing that programme together. Tough as I talked a lot about Question of Sport, because I'm amazed at actually how much he knew, and I've only been on it once. It happened very quickly in the past, and he said, "I never do any work, never research." I think, but you must do. You can't do that programme. But then I think of Beefy, and Beefy likes his sport. But I'm not sure I could see him pouring through every day's newspapers particularly.
But as you know, he's probably one of the most competitive people that you've ever come across.
Well, that is true.
He didn't like losing. I was probably a bit more steady-eddy, a bit more to Geoffrey Boycott, I would have thought, about it. And sort of, I would read the Daily Telegraph all the time to find out what's going on in the world. But you've got to remember, in those days, there's only 3 TV channels.
Yes.
ITV, 2 BBC programmes.
That was millions.
Millions. Now, sort of a myriad of sort of different programmes.
Yes.
And the BBC had all the archives, of all the great events that had taken, whether Jim Laker taking 19 wickets here.
Yeah.
And so the BBC had the rights for the 5 Nations rugby, the Test match cricket, soccer,
everything.
Horse race. They had everything. Whereby now, obviously, it's changed.
Was it just chance that you got that job? Because it must have. Not quite change your life because you had rugby and so on, but to move you on after playing, it's often quite hard to know what to do when you've stopped playing at that sort of, at any level of professional sport or amateur sport in your case. But you need something to go into, and that. Did it sort of fall into your lap, or were they?
I think the difference was that sort of when I played, it was an amateur game.
Yes.
So everybody had a day job. So when you finished playing, Monday morning, you just went back to your day job.
Of course, yes.
Whereby for the modern player, it's a lot more difficult because they've been sort of brought up as a professional rugby player. All of a sudden, that contract finishes and think, where am I going to go?
Yes.
And so for me,
cricket too.
Yeah. So for me, I was fortunate, and I got a phone call when I packed in playing. David Coleman, the late David Coleman, rang me up and said, "We're thinking of changing our captain on Question of Sport. Would you fancy doing it?" I thought, would I ever?
Yes.
And it was fun. I did it for 14 years. And I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I would have done it for nothing. Well, it probably was nothing, the fees that we used to get in those days. But it was good fun.
Yeah.
And what it did do, it enabled me as somebody who'd been involved in sport at a very high level, all of a sudden that disappears. And then to still mix with the sporting superstars of the day
coming on
who came on the programme.
Yes.
So that was a great transitional period for me.
Yes. Would you like to play in the professional era? I mean, rugby particularly, it really has changed the game enormously, hasn't it? I mean, 3 clubs have gone bust?
Yeah, that's right, unfortunately.
This season. I mean, What's wrong? What's wrong with professional rugby from that perspective?
I've got a son who's a professional rugby player, my youngest son Josh, who's been a pro player for 10 years at Sale Sharks, just down the road from here. And I talked to him about it, and it's a job they still love playing. And they still have the fun, the Mickey take humour that you would have had.
Yes.
Cricket and rugby were very, very similar.
Very true.
That dressing room was unique in a way, wasn't it?
Yes.
Sort of nobody can actually replicate, I don't think, what happened in the dressing room. You know, cricket and rugby, didn't matter what walk of life you were, what colour you were, what religion, made no difference. You were just accepted, you know,
Correct.
a part of the team. And so I think it is unfortunate that 3 clubs have gone bust this year. I think it's a real shame. I feel sorry for the supporters, I feel sorry for the players, but maybe it's a reality check that sort of our salary's too high.
Yes.
Is
A club like Wasps, right? I mean, that's a legendary name, isn't it? I mean, that's to see that go.
And I suppose if you look at Wasps, historically they're a London club.
Yes.
They then moved to High Wycombe. Then from High Wycombe, they then moved to Coventry, which you know sort of from that area.
Yes.
But the old Coventry club was a very strong club. When I played, they were probably the best team in the country. You know, the David Duckans of the world,
yes,
the Peter Preet, the Jeff Evans, all these guys. Coventry were probably better than Leicester Tigers and all these other teams. And then for them to go there, it didn't work out. So now there's 10 teams in the Premiership, and hopefully things have settled down now. And I think there's sort of good dialogue between the regulatory body, the RFU, and the Premiership clubs to come to some sort of agreement of how they can move forward together.
It was at the Leicester Tigers that I rather cut my teeth on broadcasting, not knowing anything about rugby. We're going out and doing some outside broadcasting there with Paul Dodge and Dusty Hare and Les Cusworth and Dean Richards and all these sorts of people. Have you got happy memories of that? Would be your kind of generation.
There would have been Peter Wheeler. Peter Wheeler was he was the hooker. I think all the international matches I played in, Peter was the hooker.
Right. He's still going strong.
He's going strong. I saw him a few weeks ago. Dusty.
Yes.
You know, Dodgy.
He was a good cricketer. Dusty Hare was a good cricketer.
Yeah, good play for Nottinghamshire.
He did. Yeah.
Well, also I remember Peter Squires, who played for Yorkshire. Played on the wing for England.
Yeah.
One of your former colleagues, Alistair Hignall.
Yes.
Iggy played for Gloucestershire.
Chris Old's brother, Alan Old.
Oldie played for Durham before they were a first-class county. So there's a lot of cricketers and rugby. They're always very, very sort of similar. But, you know, Leicester Tigers, the big game when you got selected for the play for the Barbarians.
Christmas.
Welford Road at Christmas.
Isn't that a fantastic fixture?
That was a great game to play in.
Yeah.
Really good game to play in.
It's some amazing rugby. There's some Cavalier throwing it around.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Very good club. Good club.
Can you see rugby changing? Like, I don't know, the influence of the coach. Now, England got a newish coach now too, haven't they? But I mean, we've seen what's happened in cricket with Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes and trying to play this very, very attacking form of cricket, which I guess you've seen a bit of over the last year. I mean, could rugby be ever become sort of transformed into that sort of a way?
Well, I think if you watch certain teams who play, they will play that way. You know, over the weekend you saw New Zealand play outstandingly well to beat South Africa. Argentina played some great rugby to beat the Wallabies. I think that the rugby is a game that you can play any way. If you've got a strong pack of forwards and you want a kicking game, scrummaging game, you can play that game. If you don't have those sort of personnel, then you've got to play it in a different way. I think it's a bit like a game of chess, rugby. You know, how you manoeuvre the players around the field. But I think we're in a good state at the moment. We've got the World Cup coming up, starting in 6 weeks' time in France. And that'll be fantastic.
And the head of world rugby, what a title that is. I mean, that is not an understated title, is it, Bill? But that's an enormous title. I mean, what responsibility comes with that?
Well, I think the responsibility that you want to hand it over in a better state than you inherited it. But deep down, my DNA is a rugby person. And if I'm on a Saturday, I'll go and watch my local team File play. I'll go and watch England play the week after. I'll go and watch many countries play. But it gives me a fantastic insight in how the game is played. Places like Chile, Uruguay, Samoa, Fiji, played to Georgia, for instance, all countries that I've visited, and just sort of understand what they want out of leadership out of World Rugby. And basically what they want is competition.
Right.
That's what they want.
I was going to second guess you and say resources, but...
Well, I think everybody wants resources.
Yeah.
And obviously we try and fund regions, we try and fund countries where we can. But I think sort of deep down, what they want is competition.
Right.
They want regular fixtures.
Yes.
And I think that is a challenge that we have in World Rugby. And it's something that we're now looking at to sort of underpin. So you've got the established competition like the Six Nations, the Rugby Championship in the South. What we've got to make certain is that below that, there is a strong competition. So we've got this Nations Cup that hopefully will start soon, where there'll be promotion and relegation between teams. So hopefully that will give encouragement. I went to Madrid a month ago. What a great sporting nation, the Spanish. And you've got to help them. You've got to help them succeed.
And will they come through Spain?
I think they will do.
Yes.
I think they will do indeed. You know,
but the World Cup, is that likely to be dominated by the usual, I don't know, four teams? Is that?
I think probably, Jonathan, this year, I think it will probably be closer. I think if you look at it, you've got South Africa are the holders, who will always be very competitive.
Yes.
You've got Ireland, who are the Six Nations champions, beat the All Blacks in a series in New Zealand.
Yes, unheard of.
That takes them going. You've got the host, France. Yeah. You've obviously got the Kiwis, the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Don't write them off. And then you've got Australia, you've got England, you've got Wales, you've got Scotland. So it'd be a great tournament. Because I think for the first time for a while, you can't predict who'd be in the quarterfinals or the finals.
Yeah, lovely. Well, you'll enjoy that. Look, we've got the umpires coming out here. Have you enjoyed what's happening here today? We're kind of hoping that the weather forecast has proven completely wrong, Bill. So this game is going to move very fast, and Saturday's going to be like this, bright and sunny.
Well, the forecast isn't great, but I would encourage anybody to get down here because this is a great occasion. You know, to come here for an Ashes test is something special. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, but it's been lovely to have met you.
Yep.
Really, some lovely memories there. Thank you so much. You've been away from Ian for about 40 minutes now.
I know, it's a bit dangerous, that.
I think it's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous,
You're entering dangerous
He did send me
territory.
a couple of bottles over.